Good lord, it's been a while. Sargatos is back here with another video. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while now. I'll explain why I've been gone for a while at the end of the video if you really care. I want to talk about. I speak way too fast sometimes. I've wanted to talk about. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while now, and it's kind of a weird place to bring it up because I haven't done a video in a while. But I really don't like tier lists in this game. I really hate item tier lists. I feel like survivor tier lists are fine. I don't feel like there's much reason to not rank these guys on consistency as long as it's on consistency. But items is what kind of makes or breaks characters, though of course different characters, different item prioritization, which is a big reason why I don't like tier lists. Because, like, let's say you're ranking all of the items from Commando's viewpoint, ATG Missile isn't going to be in the same place as Artificer or Loader. Crit Goggles aren't going to be the same on Acrid as they are Commando. There's very little reason to rank these items in one definitive tier list because the character you choose, especially in 6mm, and God Runs doesn't matter nearly as much, but in 6MM, the items you choose are very important to your survivor. Are very dependent on your survivor. Like with Loader, Goat Hoof is a fantastic item. Goat Hoof is an amazing item. But on Loader, I very rarely pick it up. Even though her punch scales with movement speed, I don't find Goat Hoof to be a very good item for her, because she already has so much ability, it doesn't really matter. I'd much rather get a soldier syringe, a med kit, a crowbar. Like, I would much rather have these items. Let's see what else is on here. Crit glasses, topaz brooches for Forgive Me Please. Like, there's so many other items on here that I would much rather have than a Goat Hoof. AP rounds. There's a lot of good white items in this game, so I don't really want a Goat Hoof. So that makes Goat Hoof a little bit worse if we're making a tier list based on every single survivor, because I don't find it very good on Loader or even Acrid. Like, Acrid shift sprint is so absolutely insane. Where you're sprinting and then you shift, like, he goes so fast. You don't really need it. It's not that important. Like, multi, if you're running Saw multi, you can just use Red Whip, which I'll put a clip in there if you haven't seen that before. But God, that's so incredible. I love that so much. But do you kind of see what I'm saying here? Like, you can't really make a single tier list of every item because there's so much context with the run, and that's the big thing I want to talk about is context. If you have an insane amount of damage going into stage 6, you're not really looking for ATG missiles, you're looking for survivability in case you accidentally mess up and get hit. If you already have enough damage to beat Mithrix very, like, solidly, you'd probably pick up a Rose Buckler over an ATG missile. Like, you aren't going, well, I need more attack when you already have a bunch of it. So there's, like, defense doesn't really factor into any win con, which I'll make a video on why I think those are important at some point. But things like Chrono Bubble help a ton during the Mithrix fight. Things like Rose Buckler gives you a 43% damage reduction around that. If you only have 3 of them, I think it does 20, 24, 25 when you only have 1. Like, this item's... I made a whole video on why this item's insane, and people are definitely overlooking it. Like, Infusion gives you 100 more health, which is 200 more health if you're playing a character that has Barrier. Like, if you're having a build that has Barrier, like Forgive Me Please with Topaz Brooches, or you're running Aegis with Captain Healing Beacon, something like that. There's so much context to runs, and making a tier list saying, this is good items, this is bad items, it's a very one-dimensional way to look at the game. And Konga, in the lab Discord, which I highly recommend you join, link is in the description, they've done a crud ton of work. I basically put it together and then went AWOL for a long time, because I was working on some mental health rituals to talk about at the end of the video. But they've worked so hard on making the wiki a much better place. If you have noticed that the wiki has become just way better, that's because of this Discord and the people in it. Huge shoutouts to Big Bill K, Wither, and Charlie. I probably missed some people, but those are the 3 that I see constantly in there testing things about the game and just learning more about it and making the wiki so much better. It's absurd how good these people are at what they do. But Kanga talks about one-dimensional tier lists versus two-dimensional tier lists, where like a one-dimensional one would be like, hey, if you're playing Commando, these are good items. And again, I'm gonna get into why that kind of tier list is flawed, even then, with just limiting it to only Commando. So a one-dimensional tier list cares about only one thing, like how much damage does something do, how consistent it is. That's like, the I believe Wooly's tier list. Its dimension. It's what it cares about is the power of the effect, which that's not bad. That's not a bad way to do a tier list. That's probably what I would do if I had to make a tier list for every survivor. But when you're getting into like big character differences, like Commando versus Artificer or Commando versus Accurate versus Loader, like there's a lot of characters in the game that care about very different things. A two-dimensional tier list cares about multiple things, not just one. So, like, how good is this item in this situation? How good is this item in this situation? Stuff like that. And for Risk of Rain 2, it needs a lot of context with a tier list. Because if you're going for God Runs, if you're going for 6mm, if you're going for Obliteration, you need vastly different things. The only one that really cares about a win con is the Obliteration, killing the Scavenger, because it will outlast you. You cannot just have a bunch of defensive items and live forever against the Scavenger, because eventually it's going to keep picking up more and more items, and it's just going to heal all your damage away. You need a way to kill it. So Bleed is a huge help here. Even having like a few syringes can help a lot. Again, depending on character. So if you're playing Commando, your win con against Scavengers is usually on hits or bleed. With Artificer, you're usually trying to chunk it really hard with the Renault's bands and Kajaris bands, stuff like that. Those are just examples. And of course, Artificer and Loader can use on hits to great effect with items like the Crowdfunder. Or equipment like the Crowdfunder, sorry. Which, if you haven't seen a video on the Crowdfunder, you absolutely need to. This equipment is just insane, and I have no idea what people consider it bad. It's one of the best, if not the best equipment in the game, which is kind of insane to me that people just overlook it. Back to tier lists. So when you make a tier list, like a very one-dimensional tier list, just like how good is the power level of the item. A lot of these people like R&D Thursday and Wooly Gaming are making these tier lists. Again, not to call out those guys, because I'm sure they're wonderful people. I'm sure they're wonderful to be around. I'm sure they don't mean to, like, make discussions worse, which I'll get to that in a bit. But when you're pumping out a tier list 2 weeks after the update's out, that's not good. I'm pretty sure it was 2 weeks. I'll have to fact check that before I upload the video, but that's not good, because you don't have enough time to actually test the effect and understand how it works exactly. Like, the band change was really big, and people didn't really understand how it worked exactly. I had to make a whole GIF explaining that crit doesn't factor into Renault bands, to the bands. Crit, it doesn't matter. If you crit a 300% attack, it's never going to proc bands, no matter how much, no matter the actual damage to the attack. It depends on the... William Gaming made a decent video on it if you want to watch that. But basically, bands are really weird. So making a video for it, making a tier list and putting the bands in there so early isn't a good idea. Same with Purity. People had no idea how good Purity was at the very beginning. And Purity, this is an item that's going to take a lot of... when I make a video on this, it's going to be a pretty long one. Purity is such an interesting item, and I love its design so much. But you kind of see what I'm coming at here. It's like, you're making it way too early. You haven't really done all this testing it. You don't know exactly how powerful the effect is. So you have to wait. I'd say probably wait about a month or two before you make an actual tier list. If you're a big tier list guy that has to have a tier list, you really want to make a tier list, then wait a few months. And how I would do it is make it by character and make it by objective. Like for God Runs, you want to prioritize these items. For Obliteration, you want to prioritize these items. For 6mm, you want to prioritize these items. It's like, they're very different objectives, because items like Guillotine isn't that great in 6mm because there's nothing to Mithrix, but in God Runs, it's fantastic. It is a fantastic item. Same with Wake of Vultures and Brainstalks. They're not great in any run, but they are absolute garbage in 6mm. the best thing I can really talk about is Meat Hook, which is probably the most jarring of a difference. In God Runs, this thing is incredible. This thing is fantastic. But in Sixth Amendment, it is garbage. Because the ads that Mithrix spawns don't really matter here. Like, you can't Meat Hook. I guess you might be able to, but in all my runs I've had certain Meat Hook in Sixth Amendment, it has done pretty much nothing for me. Like, at all. After I get the Mithrix, which is not what you really want out of Red. I get more excited to get a Head Stompers, which, God, this item is just so slept on. This item is absolutely insane in 6mm. Not that great for God Runs, but good lord, this item is good in 6mm. I'd much rather have this than a Tiny Meat Hook. So making a tier list that doesn't care about objective, doesn't care about character, and just cares about the effect of the item is very, very flawed. And doesn't give the game enough credit. This game is so wildly complex with your item prioritization. It depends on character, it depends on stage, it depends on objective. It depends on a ton of different things. So why are you making a tier list that simplifies it so much? Tier lists are great for YouTube clickbait. They're great for just like, hey, look at this if you don't really care too much about the in-depth mechanics and just want like run on how good an item is. But it's robbing the game of discussion. It's robbing discussion. It's robbing the game of depth. And it's robbing us of discussion. There have been so many times, where I have had to defend Crowdfunder with my life because Wooly says it's bad. Or because some other person said it was bad. There have been a few times, more than I like to admit, where people have looked to R&D Thursdays or Wooly's tier list video and told me I was wrong because Wooly put this item in D tier. And I'm just like, what? It's like, can we please just have a discussion without referencing a tier list? Because tier lists, as I just explained, they don't work. And again, I don't hate Wooly Gaming. I don't hate R&D Thursday. Wooly Gaming even says in his videos, hey, context matters a lot. Context matters a lot. Please do not just pick an item because I say it's good. But people don't listen to that. I've gotten to a few games where people are like, why'd you take that item? It's bad. It's because it was the best in this context. I've taken shield generators over soldier syringes before because it was just a time to pick a shield generator. I needed more maximum health to not get brought down the one-shot protection by certain things. I needed to survive a radial attack if I got hit by it. I needed to survive a Mithrix really fast hammer swing. I needed to survive that kind of stuff, so I picked a defensive item over an offensive one. And that's the kind of depth this game has. Let's say you're running a Nuka-Hanas type build. Shields count as health. Nuka-Hanas skulls are doing a lot more damage because you have more health, so getting a soldier syringe in that case doesn't help you Nuka-Hanas, which is your main source of damage. But shield generator will. I believe that's how it works. I might have to test that. Because shield's health are weird. But that's just an example. So, why are we robbing ourselves of this kind of discussion when you're just looking to a tier list and be like, that's in D tier, it's bad. End of discussion. Stop talking about it. That's just... And I know it sounds insane, but people have done this. People, when I've talked to them about Risk Rain 2, they've been like, Wooly said that item was bad. It's bad. I have the same conversation with Rogue Capacitor, where Wooly puts an SS tier on his equipment tier list, but in 6mm, it's not that great. In fact, I'd say it's in a really weird spot, because it's the most powerful when it has gesture, but Mithrix zooms so fast around the map, especially, and people that play Eclipse, y'all know what I'm talking about here. He's so quick, it's hard to hit him with the delay on Rogue Capacitor matters a lot there. So you're missing a lot of the time. Yeah, it has 20-second cooldowns, so it doesn't really matter that much if you miss. But if you're using something like the Crowdfunder or the Primordial Cube, you'll be getting a lot more out of it at that point. Rogue Capacitor's in a weird spot right now with 6mm, but I'll make a video on that. I'll talk more about that when I make a video on Rogue Capacitor. But I hope that kind of explains why I don't like tier lists that much, why I don't consider them that great. And I used to think the same way. I used to completely ignore crowdfunder. I used to completely ignore show generator because of a tier list, because of Wooly's tier list. And that hindered me from actually picking up the items and experimenting with them. And I'm sure that's not what Wooly wants. I'm sure that's not what RNG Thursday wants. But that's what happened to me. And that sucks. Because I didn't really appreciate this game until I started testing with it. Until I started using the console and doing crazy things with it and learning way more about the game. Before I started doing this series even. Like this game's awesome. And I cannot wait for more content. I cannot wait to play the game more. And speaking of that, we are doing game nights every Wednesday in the lab server if you want to join that. Link in the description. We help a lot with the wiki. We do a lot of testing. We play the game every once in a while. But I want to start doing that weekly every Wednesday, 8 o'clock CST, 8 p.m. CST. I need to say that. I need to clarify. But yeah, this game is awesome, and I really enjoy it. I'm glad to be back making videos for it. I was gone for a bit because my mental state wasn't that great for a while there. COVID has sucked a lot. I used to do concerts a lot. I used to I used to help run concerts by building stages, moving furniture, stuff like that, and I really enjoyed the job, and I was actually offered a really big promotion right before COVID hit, and then oops, no concerts. So that's been just kind of in the back of my head this entire time, and now there's word about the state being opened back up, and it's not. It sucks a lot, and it's really hurting me mentally. Same with just worrying about my future. That's another thing that really is getting into my head. But people really like the series, and I really enjoyed doing it, so I decided to just drag myself out of that funk, and I want to start doing these videos again, because they're fun. People enjoy them. People look forward to them. I've had a lot of people ask, hey, what's going on? Are you okay? Do you, like, I miss your videos. Just stuff like that. And it means a lot to me. It really does. And I wish I had done this sooner. I wish I'd come back sooner. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's Rainy Day discussion. I hope you at least learned something today. And again, I don't want to attack people like Wooly Gaming, because I'm sure, again, they're probably fantastic people, RNG Thursday and Wooly Gaming. But calling an item bad and calling an item good when you're pretty much the only voice, like, big voice in the community, has a lot of weird side effects. It's, yeah. This game has a lot of really good directions, and I want people to explore them. I want people to check them out. So when you're looking at a tier list, big takeaway, when you're looking at a tier list, consider the context to when this tier list is, how this tier list is made. Like, is it just power of the effect? Is it 6mm tier list? Is it a loader god run tier list? Like, there's so many different ways to make a tier list. Don't make one that's very simple, because this game deserves a lot more credit than that. I'm Mr. Grutasa, and have a good day.